Hey everyone, today we're continuing our story. Update 3. On Sunday at 1500 hours, a mediator from a law firm wrote to me that she had picked up the children with their things and was on her way to the house. I doubt there has ever been a message in history that anyone feared as much as I did. What made it most tragic is that just a few weeks ago I would have been smiling, looking forward to it. And now the meeting that I would have been looking forward to with joy became something that made me shake. I had no plans to talk to my children about divorce, parenthood, or any other issues. No matter how much I prepared, I realized that I was in no condition to bring up these topics. My goal was to make it feel like the normal days of staying at the grandparents' house while Amy and I were on vacation. But I knew the reality would be very different, and I had little control over it. Jessica, an intern from a law firm, drove up to the house. I saw them drive up through the large window in the living room. I went outside and went down the steps. When the car stopped, I smiled as I walked over to the passenger side of Jessica's car. As soon as I saw Haley in her booster seat, she had a huge smile on her face. And I started crying. But I was still smiling. That damn smile couldn't be knocked out even with a heavy metal pipe. I just hoped that if I kept smiling, it would reassure the children and myself that everything was okay. I wish I had a plan B. As soon as I took her out of the car seat, Jacob was already there. I hugged both of them, Haley and Jacob. I told them I missed them, and that was all I could say. I just kept crying. Seeing them and knowing that Haley was not mine tore me up over and over again. Now I have to live with this. Every damn day brings a new disappointment. I'm learning more and more about the extent of Amy's infidelities. I remember our relationship and understand that they were all built on lies. I continue to move away from the epicenter of the chaos that began the moment I caught Amy cheating. But every day I am hit again by waves of betrayal as I discover how deeply I have been deceived. Jessica was an angel. She helped me bring children into the house. I took all their things and she closed the doors and trunk. As soon as I put my bags on the floor, I turned around and saw Haley looking at me. She didn't say anything. She just looked at me with her eyes as if she knew exactly what I needed. That hug. I squatted down. She came up and hugged me with her small arms, as tightly as she could. This girl broke me. I wanted to be strong, but no child should have to hear their parent cry like that. Everyone tells me that we need to do everything to cause as little damage to the children as possible. This is right, even logical, but what if literally every action causes them harm? What if there is no way to avoid this harm? The fact that a child sees the source of her strength and protection destroyed must obviously hurt her. How does this not traumatize her? If I left it, it would destroy it. But by remaining in her life, I also hurt her. A 6-year-old child should not console an adult, especially for something that wasn't her fault at all. At that moment, my soul burned with hatred for Amy, but the little girl Amy lied about showed me love in the best way she knew how, and she continued to hug me. An undeniable truth dawned on me at that moment. In this story, Haley is just as much a victim as I am. As an adult, I should be able to handle this better than a child. Haley doesn't even realize that she's already a victim, as if she and I were the only survivors of a plane crash. We survived, but it will still leave incurable scars on our souls. But as survivors, we must stick together. We need to be there for each other, because we're going through the same thing. I kept looking at it as if Amy had taken my daughter away from me, but it is also fair to say that Amy took Haley's father away from her. The villain in this story is Amy. I'm no longer going to feel guilty about what I feel. I don't know of any parenting manual to rely on. You all know very well how to react to cheating and give the best advice on how to survive a divorce. But how do you react when you find out that the daughter you raised was never really yours? No one can tell me what I should feel or how to react to it. The only analogy I can give is to children who were switched at birth. But couples like this go through it together. They were both deceived. Both learned that the child they thought was theirs is actually the product of another union. If you haven't experienced this or what I'm going through now, you won't understand how it feels. After about half an hour, I managed to compose myself a little. Jessica left after receiving a hug from all three of us. I handed her a small envelope with $500 inside and told her what kind of gas it was. She drives an electric car and realized that the money is not for gasoline. I carried Haley in my arms while Jacob showed me the things he made with his grandfather. Haley held onto my neck the entire time to let me know that she too helped paint the wood. I started my standard game of I don't believe you, and Jacob joined in. All of this resulted in a tickling experience, first for Haley and then for me. I can't tell you how beautiful and at the same time hurt was to hear Haley's laughter and squeals, to see how happy Jacob was and laughing. It was a joy for my broken soul, because I knew that in the future there are very few moments like this that we can enjoy so much. They united against me when they started to win the fight. I loved watching them work together, whether I was the father or not. But by the time she's old enough to date, I'll teach her how to say no firmly. I turned on the music. Since infancy, Haley adored music. I danced with her from the first week of her life until last month. I'm sure it looked funny from the outside, but I don't care. I'm enjoying it, and she loves to be as stupid as me. I ordered food through Uber Eats for dinner. We're not Asian, but we definitely eat like we are. Jacob easily eats a 10-year-old's portion of noodles, and Haley, for some reason, loves crab rangoon. I didn't eat much. My appetite made sure I lost the extra weight. I just enjoyed having dinner with them again. They had school today, so I bathed them, got them into their pajamas, and got them ready for bed. Jacob likes to read a book before bed. I hugged him, told him that I loved him, and that I would see him in the morning. I put Haley to bed and read her a book, showing her the details and the pictures. She was almost dozing off when I felt myself starting to cry. I kissed her on the top of her head and said, "I love you." For the first time since I found out the truth. You can consider me the last bastard on the planet. I don't care. But having said that, it was like allowing myself to admit it. The last few days have been a struggle for me to understand what is real and what is not. My love for Haley is real. I love her. But I feel different. Whether this is right or wrong, I don't know. But I love her. If I didn't want to before take nothing away from her, then now, I want keep giving. It's a huge difference. But be that as it may, I was waiting for Haley to tell me that she loves me too. I knew she loved me, even if she didn't say it. But instead she said, "Mom loves you." I immediately understood what she meant. I tried not to lose my temper and be gentle when I asked, "Haley, why did you tell me this?" She replied that her mother told her so. I asked gently, "Mom just said that? Or did I ask you to tell me this?" It turned out that Amy was forced to explain to the children why I had not come and would not come, and why she would not go home with them. She told the children that her parents' house was her new home. And I was even glad about it. I continued asking, and then Jacob walked in. He said that Mom told them she wasn't coming home, because I don't love her anymore. What the hell was I supposed to say to that? Yes, it's all because of me. Did I just stop loving your mother? Blame it all on me. This won't happen. I called our nanny and asked if she could come and babysit the kids for a few hours because they were already asleep, which meant she could study while she got paid. She agreed, and I got into the car and immediately headed to my father-in-law's house. I didn't call ahead. When he arrived, he knocked on the door and asked to see Amy. Her mother took me to her childhood room, where she was recovering from her injuries. I turned to her mother, put my hand on the doorknob, and said I needed to talk to Amy alone. She sensed that I was angry, so she hurried out of the blast area. As soon as the door closed, I immediately asked, "Who the hell do you think you are if you're trying to blame our divorce on the fact that I allegedly stopped loving you?" She said that this is true. I replied that maybe that's true, but the reason I can't love her again is because she's deceitful, vile, immoral, depraved, two-faced. Nice attempt at shifting the blame for everything that happened. She said that she already tried to apologize, but I didn't want to listen to her. I exploded. What the hell good does an apology do? This will not reverse the damage caused or prevent it. And despite all this, I don't believe it, that she truly regrets what she did. I asked her how could she manipulate two innocent children to make me look bad if she feels any guilt. I asked, at what point did I become a bad person who destroyed our marriage? Without the slightest pause, she answered, "It happened when you didn't give me a second chance." I stopped her and asked, "How many painkillers do you take? And do you drink alcohol with them?" This was the only logical explanation that the thought could arise in her head, that a lying and depraved woman deserves a second chance, mercy, and respect. She lost all this a long time ago because of her actions. Again, I have no idea who my wife is now. It's like she's been replaced the ghost of Caligula or Charlie Sheen. My beautiful and virtuous wife has been replaced by a soulless, used liar, and it is a miracle in itself that my body did not begin to rot because of her actions. I asked, "Don't you regret that you ruined your whole life for the sake of cheap sex?" She replied that it was not only an intimacy. I reminded her that she had stated that she did not want emotional connections. She said that a lot, especially in the beginning, had to do with seeking approval. She liked that they were running after her. She got angry when I asked how she could consider herself chaste. But that's over. Her actions will determine her perception for the rest of her life. Amy and I were talking several hours. She admitted that during the depression after Jacob was born, I was the most supportive husband she could have ever asked for. So I asked, "Then why did you betray me so cruelly?" She said that despite such a happy event in our lives, part of her was so overwhelmed with anxiety that she wanted to die. She felt love for me and Jacob, but for some strange reason she felt depression and inner emptiness. She didn't go to work for another 6 months because of her problems. I found the best therapists and doctors for her. She admitted it, and she said that this also began to make her feel guilty because she felt that she was letting me down. After all, I carried everything on my shoulders. She said she was feeling down, although I knew, which does not carry any weight. She began to doubt whether she should have become a mother at all, despite the fact that always wanted this. She distanced herself from her friends, both in real life and online. She told me every day that she loved me. And she apologized, and I told her that she has nothing to apologize for. I just wanted her to get better. Maybe she was apologizing for what I was going to do. When Rebecca came to our house for the first time unannounced, I was glad to see her. I knew that Becky was persistent enough to keep Amy from shutting her out, but kind enough to get her to open up. It took months for anything resembling a full-fledged coming out to happen. Even just getting Amy to go to Starbucks back then was huge victory. A lot of men probably think I'm the last loser on earth if I let my wife go to bars and clubs with a lonely friend. And they would be absolutely right. I should have put an end to this much earlier. But at that moment, after all the sadness and isolation, getting her out somewhere seemed correct. It lifted her spirits. Even after the first time, she tried to explain that in 2 years she suddenly became a wife and mother. She said the fact that men were interested in her, even if only for sex, boosted her self-esteem. She claimed that the first incident wouldn't have happened if only she weren't so drunk. But according to her, it was done voluntarily. When she first cheated, she realized that if I found out, then more would never touch her. She knew that she would have lost everything because she entered into marriage empty-handed. I asked her if she ever thought that I would find out about cheating, and how would I react? She said she knew it would destroy me, and claimed that she was terribly ashamed. I asked the obvious question, then why did you keep cheating? She said that as soon as sobered up after the first betrayal, felt guilt, shame, and regret. I remembered that she was very sad for a week after she first came out. Then Rebecca came and they talked alone for several hours. From that moment, for several months, I felt that Amy is back. She admitted that she told Becca that day that she felt unworthy of me because of what I did. She knew that if I found out, our marriage would end and I would fight for custody of Jacob. She said she decided to take this to the grave and be a better wife for me to make amends. Now I understand what it was, red flag. Yes, call me a fool all you want, but we had a child to take care of. And at that point, I was doing 95% of the caregiving duties. When I suddenly got my old wife back, I would have gone crazy at that moment if I thought that was a bad sign. At that moment, it was all a damn miracle. I returned to work full-time 2 weeks later when Amy became a stay-at-home mom. Looking back, when Jacob was about a year old, These were some of the happiest days of our lives, at least for me. And the realization that it all happened, an attempt to make amends for pleasuring a stranger in his car forever, changed my memories of that time. I asked, "Why did you cheat again? Was I not good enough for you?" It always seemed like we had a great sex life. Except for her period of depression, she always seemed happy when we were doing this. She replied that the longer hid this secret, the worse I felt, but she could no longer confess her feelings to me. She knew that I would want to understand why she was sad so that I could support her. But she couldn't tell the truth. She said that the internal torment of keeping a secret and living in a false facade of happiness corroded her from the inside. She reminded me of the time I went to meet my birth mother's family in another state. I took Jacob with me to introduce him to the family for the first time. Amy canceled her trip at the last minute, citing illness. I couldn't stop her from cheating, it was already done. But maybe I could keep her from the road of lies on which she had been driving for the past 6 years. It turns out that what I valued was never mine. I didn't blame myself. She should have admitted to cheating and walked away, allowing me to move on. But somehow it turned out that her many mistakes, complicated lots of lies, and her carelessness about the consequences. Now my burden. This is what you do with the enemy, and not with the one he once loved. She said she was depressed the weekend I was away. She knew she wasn't worthy of me, even if I didn't realize it. She punished herself even if she didn't know she deserved it. At least that's how she explained it. She knew that if I found out, I would consider her a whore and be disgusted with her. And I never stopped showing her love. I told her how much I love her. At some point, she realized that if I found out the truth, I would stop loving her. My attention to her no longer mattered. It did not have the same value because she realized that she was unworthy of him. But I didn't understand this because I didn't know about her dirty infidelities. She said she called Rebecca to cry on her shoulder. She convinced her to go have a drink. According to her, for the first part of the evening, she cried and asked what she should do. The bartender offered her a few shots to cheer her up. She didn't say it directly, but it was clear. Rebecca encouraged her to flirt. She started kissing the guy in the alley behind the bar, but stopped herself. She went back inside feeling even worse, because I realized changed again. Then more alcohol. Rebecca asked that guy help Amy get home. Rebecca left them alone, and the clothes began to fly off. I asked her, "Did you even think about Jacob at that moment? Did you think about me when you betrayed both of us?" She got angry and said that never betrayed my son. I let her know that she had not only betrayed me and Jacob, but also Haley, our parents, everyone who witnessed our vows, and even God. She betrayed the sanctity of our family and marriage. But then I just shook my head and said, "Despite everything you've done up to this point, your only right decision would be just let me go." I said I would take care of Jacob and she could fuck with anyone after the divorce, at least with all the men in the state. I told her that I would love to write her name on the walls of public restrooms. But she didn't let go. She continued to lie. She continued to cheat. And all this makes me disgust, even just hearing about it. After the first betrayal, she developed a real strategy. She didn't want men to get attached to her because never meant to leave. She wasn't looking for an emotional connection. She called it fishing. Get a guy, start flirting, give him bait, then pull away, make him pursue her. But on her schedule. She said she always knew I found her beautiful, but getting a second opinion didn't seem like a bad thing to her at the time. I just looked at her and shook my head. Anyway, bartender, not Haley's father. We are sure of this. He was too early to be a donor. And she claims they only slept together once. I asked, "Do you remember the names of specific men with whom you spoke and forced them to pursue you?" Answer, "Maybe a couple of names. But I don't know where to find them." I paused this conversation. Yes, I wanted more answers, but all these details will not come out overnight. And I didn't come there for that. She sat in a chair to support her leg in a cast on cushions. I moved a few centimeters closer to her face and said, "You are a pathetic semblance of a human being. I sincerely believe that you have no soul. Your actions have caused unimaginable pain and will continue to do so for a long time. but I look you straight in the eyes and say, "You won't hurt my children anymore." I told her directly, "This I was deceived for 6 years. If anyone deserves an ounce of leniency to focus on their needs, then it's me." And then he added, "Every word is true. Any petty tricks and manipulations will only increase my disgust for you. We won't be together. To me, I hate even just touching you. For you, the word loyalty does not exist at all. But despite the fact am I biologically Haley's father or not, I will remain faithful to my daughter. I will protect her as much as possible. And if I have to protect her from her mother's lies, manipulation, and deceit, that so be it." I told her that Lauren has friends who would love to receive new BMW for recognizing her unfit mother. Yes, it was a threat, and I meant it every damn word. I said, "If you have something to say it to my face." Never again will Jacob or Haley give me messages from their mother. Haley should know next to nothing about our divorce. And even more so about my paternity, at least bye. But when the time comes, I'll tell her the truth. Exactly, I'll explain how her mother made both of us victims. I won't allow the person who destroyed our family downplay your guilt or blame everything on me. This terrible truth shouldn't be revealed to Haley now, at least until I decide for myself that the time has come. I also reminded Amy that she doesn't have a lawyer and said that the kids will stay with me for at least the next 2 weeks. She needs time to reflect not only on your betrayal, but also about how harsh manipulation can hurt Haley. I'll let her know when will she earn the right to be a mother again. She couldn't protest much. Moreover, she was in 2 casts. Let him live a little alone. To be continued. Overall, thanks for watching. Write your thoughts in the comments, watch our previous video. It will appear here. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next part of this story. Well, good luck to you.